Welcome in. It is Game Time Decisions right here on SportsGrid. It is a Friday night. I am Kevin Walsh with you for the next 2 hours as we go through a loaded NBA slate. 28 of 30 in action tonight. No Milwaukee, no San Antonio. They played last night with the Bucks getting the win. No cover. We'll talk about some of the last night action that we saw in the NBA. Coach James Young is going to be with us in 10 minutes here to help us break down tonight's big card, as well as hit on some key college basketball. Inside hour number 2, we will get set for a big weekend of NFL action. Dave Sharapan and Mark Zinno stopping by with us here on Game Time Decisions. Let's open this thing up, though, and talk a little bit about last night's results in the association. First primetime Thursday slate for the NBA with, of course, the NFL having its first week without Thursday night football. And what did we get? A win, but no cover. A win, but no cover. Maybe you got an early Denver 2.5. But let's just start here quickly. Milwaukee's 125-121. Bucks getting the job done. That's really all that matters. Spurs cover. We've talked about this spot. It now needs to 100% be put away in your back pocket. If a team is playing on the second leg of a back-to-back, and the first leg was the Pacers, the opponent team total over is now 5-0 this season. A team now is 1-4 trying to cover that spot this year. It makes sense. The Pacers are fast. It is draining to play them. And then you end up, if you're the Bucks, giving up 121 to one of the worst teams in the NBA. Admittedly, though, the number was 118.5. It's not like this thing flew through the total. We bring in our radio audience. Appreciate all those here across the SportsGrid network, including Sirius XM, channel 159. I'm Kevin Walsh with you here on Game Time Decisions. Denver, Golden State, 130 to 127. I have a Warriors win total over. Now, I've accepted defeat on that number actually quite some time ago. Draymond Green made sure we had no chance to get there. But I don't love the fourth time this year Golden State lost a game where they led by 18 or more. And I'm sure a lot of this is about the coverage, Jokic, the shot. It was amazing. It was a market mover. It's deserved. 34, 9, and 10 in the game. He is great, as always. Paid the people last night on the over points prop that we were working with. Well, for Golden State, if you now have basically before we even get to the new year, hardly creeping into 2024, 4 losses where you led by 18 or more in the game. Got to look at the coach. At some point, Steve Kerr under a little fire now. Jonathan Kuminga talking about, well, I'd like to play. Here's the deal on Kuminga. 16-4-4 and a +6 in 19 minutes. You're getting ran off the court by Denver. You're Steve Kerr. No switch. The kid's playing well. He's been playing well. No, you know what? Stick with Trace Jackson Davis. That was working great last night, Steve. You absolutely nailed it. Let's move on here from the Open. Again, we have 14 games tonight on this NBA board. It is absolutely jam-packed with action. Only, as we said, Milwaukee and San Antonio off. Boston lays a big number. Cleveland and Washington go at it again, and the Cavs are a double-digit favorite. There is some good action over here out west. Phoenix and Miami expected. Kevin Durant still will miss this game. Lakers need to snap a losing streak here. They've obviously been pitiful since winning the in-season tournament. They've only won 2 of their last 10 games. Possibly Darvin Ham's last game as this team's head coach, if it is a loss. Warriors are trying to respond against Detroit. The best game, either a 263 total with Indiana and Atlanta because the total's 263, or, and more likely, Philly, New York, which will feature in Quick Pick. OG Anunoby has been excellent for the Knicks through his first 2 games. They now go with a step-up spot against Philly, who welcomed Joel Embiid back in their last game, and all he had was a calm, smooth, simple 30-point triple-double, because Embiid does those now. Embiid now does triple-doubles. College basketball, 2 teams that are ranked in action UConn with a little Big East play against Butler. And then we have Purdue and Illinois as the best game on the slate. A top 10 matchup here. Boilermakers, though, laying double digits, big-time total 150.5. For those that do not know, Terrence Shannon Jr. was the best player on the Illini. Horrific allegations have him away from this team right now, rightfully so. And that is a part of the reason that this number is big. There are some interesting player props, though, that come into line due to the shifting rotation for Illinois. We will break those down. We'll get coaches' thoughts on that game as well. For the Illini, it is a step-up spot here, but they did play one of these. They played twice already without Shannon Jr. One of those was a 30-point rout of Northwestern, who beat Purdue. I'm not doing the transitive property thing. I'm just saying that was very impressive by Illinois. We will get into that a little bit more. We will also, as I said, talk about the weekend. So we take a look at your Super Bowl odds before we make that move and get set for Saturday's action, which is going to matter. Baltimore, the number 1 seed, locked up, won't be playing probably any of their starters at home against Pittsburgh or catching 4. The Steelers need a victory in this game to keep their chances alive. And if they get it, you will likely see the Buffalo Bills Super Bowl odds drop just a bit. But vice versa, if the Steelers do lose that game, the Bills odds will grow shorter. Because Pittsburgh, with a win, continues to apply pressure to Buffalo, who on a Sunday night possibly will be playing for their playoff lives. They're definitely playing for the 2 seed. With a win, that is theirs, crowning them as AFC East champions. But if they end up, incredibly, on Sunday night following wins by Pittsburgh and Jacksonville, who are both favored in their games, then the Buffalo Bills would be eliminated. Your favorites are San Francisco. It'll be Darnold versus Wentz in Niners-Rams. We mentioned Baltimore. Dallas getting that bump due to the Eagles' loss to Arizona. Kansas City, Buffalo rounding out that top 5 for you there with your Super Bowl odds. The Eagles not all too far behind. Let's get to the quick pick here. Talk a little bit about a total that, admittedly, I'm a little late on. Late last night, you could find Sixers-Knicks as low as, I think, 227.5. So be it. I'll still play over 233. The Knicks in their last 15 games have played 6 of them against top 8 offenses in the NBA. In those games, they are allowing 133 points per game. OG's real good. He's not going to fix that. We'll see how this Knicks defense stacks up tonight against Philly. But to be fair to the Knicks, that's a top 10 offense in basketball. And in those games against top 6 offenses, they know how to bring it. They average over 121 points per game in those matchups. Coach is up next.
My best bet is Michael Penix to over 309.5.
Let's shop around. Let's get active and let's get the best of the numbers here, Joe.
I believe if Michigan in this ball game can run the football, work off of play action, they can move the football, put up points. Does fall on McCarthy, but I like Michigan's chances in this ball game.
National championship is set. Washington against Michigan.
Brothers in arms tonight. This is it.
This is the most excited I think I've ever been for a day of work in my entire life.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't
favorite.
care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back,
The irony.
I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Well, they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
In terms of these wild cards, and in terms of the playoff picture.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give the over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. It is Game Time Decisions with you here on SportsGrid. We're going to go to JY first because we have a 14-game NBA slate. So, Coach, let's get straight into it here. Talk to me about one of your favorite sides on tonight's NBA board.
Yeah, first off, I like the Pacers on the money line tonight. By the way, I got lucky last night, Kate. I'm taking the Nuggets on the money line and not the 3.5. So that extra 20 cents actually did pay off because I was nervous about that. But the Pacers on the money line tonight, Atlanta to me is just so inconsistent. The Pacers have won 5 games in a row. They're playing pretty well. And just think about the fact that the Pacers are first in points and offensive rating, and the Hawks are 28th in field goal percentage defense. They don't stop a nosebleed. I think the Pacers are playing really well, good basketball. We don't even know if Jonathan Murray is going to be there. So my first play is going to be the Pacers on a money line tonight versus Atlanta.
I don't mind it. I am curious, are the Pacers really 6 wins in a row good? Now, they've got probable losses coming up after this Hawks game with 2 straight against Boston, though both are home games. But again, you are laying a money line there, so perhaps it could be a little get in, get out special. Hornets Bulls tonight is an interesting one where we have Chicago, JY, bringing back Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic off the bench. What do you think of that move, and how does it, if at all, impact your bet in this game?
Well, the amazing thing is, Kevin, I liked it because, ready? Vucevic plays 0 defense at all. And Chicago's been better defensively. LaVine, not a strong defender. And if you notice, folks, I like them at 220.5. FanDuel right now, Kevin, it dropped to 218. They're dropping it because they're coming off the bench and they're playing less minutes. I think they're going to need their scoring punch. I do like over. It was 220.5. It's 218 on FanDuel right now. So I'll just say over 218 in it. I know Chicago has gone under 3 straight, 4 out of 6 for Charlotte, but the Hornets defense is bad. They're like 28th, I think, and they're 29th in defensive points per possession in the NBA. I think the Bulls with Vuce and obviously LaVine will get a boost from them offensively, especially now that it's 218. Give me over that in Hornets Bulls.
Zach LaVine points props tonight around 14.5 or 15.5. Nikola Vucevic checking in at around 13.5. I think there is some value on Andre Drummond in tonight's game that we will talk about in a little bit. Dallas here with what I believe is a little double up against the Portland Trail Blazers. Dallas just beat this team 126-97. JY expecting more of the same?
Yeah, and the line I saw earlier was 10.5, dropped down to 8.5. So I'm kind of curious. I'm like, am I missing something, or are guys hurt, or something that I don't know about? And it's lining up that they're starting to be Kyrie's starting to get into a rhythm, but 29, 11, and 13. Those are the margins of victory that the Mavs have over the Blazers this year. I just think it lines up again. So I'm going to go take Dallas minus 8.5. I think they blow them out again.
The idea probably on a dropping line that has now come up a touch back to 9 would be a questionable tag that sits on Luka Doncic. I don't really know where this number goes if Luka misses the game fully. It was 11.5, though, when they played a couple of games ago. So all stuff certainly to keep an eye on for a tip that is coming a little bit later. JY mentions Kyrie Irving back here now. Has played 2 games, 29 in that last outing against Portland. JY, you are on Jalen Brunson tonight. I'm excited with Sixers-Knicks. This should be a good one here as the Knicks get their first crack at a top contender in the Eastern Conference with OG Anunoby in their lineup. What do you like here?
Well, it's amazing, Kato. A couple of hours ago, Jalen Brunson's assist prop at 7.5 was at minus 175 on FanDuel. It has dropped all the way back down to minus 122. As we speak, it just moved to minus 140, so they may be actually coming back the other way. But the reason why I like this is the Knicks' different offense is a lot different now. He's gone over 3 of the last 4 games, 7+ assists in all 4 matchups last year versus Philadelphia. And remember, folks, you got to think about this. With Quickly gone, with RJ Barrett gone, those are 2 guys that need ISO ball to create their own shots. DiVincenzo, Quentin Grimes, OG Anunoby, more space guys to catch and shoot. And I do think that kind of helps Jalen Brunson get over 7.5 assists. It's a different line. Plus, because they're not trusting Deuce McBride much, Malachi Flynn is questionable. Now you're seeing JB with some of the second unit, with Grimes, with Josh Hart. So more opportunities for him to drive and dish. Brunson over 7.5 assists tonight.
So this is the one, JY, I was alluding to kind of off the air. I'm a little concerned by. And now I like the over in the game. So obviously I'm not going to sit here and tell you that there won't be enough points or opportunities. But the reason for this Brunson number is truly a 2-game sample size where he has 13 assists and 14 assists in the 2 games since OG has arrived. But this is a guy who averages under 6.5 assists a game, and you're paying heavy juice on a 7.5 assist prop. That's my concern. Now, maybe you and everyone else betting this number is early on a prop that will ultimately settle at 8.5, maybe 9.5. Maybe this is going to be what Brunson is in this new rotation, JY. I'm worried that this is too expensive off of what is still only a 2-game sample size.
Well, and I can understand that, but to me, as watching the Knicks, it's more about not just the sample size, it's the style of play that I've seen out of New York in regards to his minutes, playing with the second unit, and the personnel around him. If you really look at it, one of the reasons why OG Anunoby is going to be a good pickup for the Knicks is he's a 44% shooter from the corner 3. That's about 8 percentage points higher than RJ Barrett. That's his sweet spot. If you notice, since DiVincenzo's going into the starting lineup, he's gotten more 3-point opportunities as well. It's driving lanes and the fact that, Kevin, the Knicks are relying heavily on Randall and Brunson. I don't know if they get there with the points because I think Philly will load up on them, but I do see driving opportunities and kickouts, and Nick Nurse saying, I don't want that pull-up game for Jalen Brunson. I want you to stop early, force the kick out, make other guys make shots. That's why I like the 7.5.
And then going to another top point guard in the Eastern Conference, JY, as we wrap around. You're on the Pacers money line, and you're going to back their superstar Tyrese Halliburton tonight.
Over 3 of his last 6 games, 37 points in his only other appearance versus Atlanta. And this team, we talked about it, Kevin, they are 28th in field goal percentage. They've given up 120 points plus 8 out of the last 10 games. And here comes the number 1 team in the NBA in pace, number 1 team in offensive efficiency, and in points per game. Halliburton gets loose, And speaking of getting loose, really quick, and I know you talked about Milwaukee. If they don't get someone that can stop someone at the point guard position, they're not making it to the finals, Kevin. I did something earlier. 32.2 points per game. That's the average points per game that has Brunson, that has Halliburton, that has Matt. They haven't played Max yet. Luka, Kyrie, Trae Young. Shoot, they give a 45 to Cam Thomas. If they don't fix that in Milwaukee, I'm telling you now, folks, that defense is a hot mess, and it's because Drew Holiday is in Boston.
Here is the thing for the Bucks. Their offensive rating right now is the third best in basketball. That is championship level. Their defense is 20th. It is almost impossible to win a championship with a defense like that. You would think, though, with Giannis and Brook Lopez, who both are usually flirting around the DPOY conversation, that their rim protection would make up for it. I got to call into question a little bit of coaching there. JY's going to stick around quickly. We'll hit the college basketball slate. I'll button up the rest of it next.
My best bet is Michael Penix to over 309.5.
Let's shop around. Let's get active and let's get the best of the numbers here, Joe.
I believe if Michigan in this ball game can run the football, work off of play action, they can move the football, put up points. Does fall on McCarthy, but I like Michigan's chances in this ball game.
National championship is set. Washington against Michigan.
Brothers in arms today. This is it.
This is the most excited I think I've ever been for a day of work in my entire life.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know, they're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Where they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
In the NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff picture.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give you over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, Coach is going to stick around with us quickly, probably 5 minutes or so. Just hit these 2 college games. JY, UConn's up first. They'll tip in 5 minutes at Butler. What do you like in that game?
I do like UConn. I know this thing about short spreads on the road as ranked teams, but UConn covered 4 of his last 6 games. They've recovered from the Donovan Clingan injury. Butler has now covered 5 of the last 6. Here's the key thing. UConn covered 6 straight games versus Butler. This is a big spot for a UConn team that needs to continue to win versus a dangerous Butler team, especially at home. But give me the UConn Huskies, minus 4.5.
And again, I'm going to expand on all these in a little bit because I just want to get JY's stuff, and then we'll let him rock. JY, the big one, though, top 10 matchup in the Big Ten, Purdue and Illinois. Boilermakers laying double digits, 150.5 for this total. What are you looking for here?
This is an intriguing matchup versus a team in Purdue is at 91st percentile offensively, or 98th percentile offensively, versus a team defensively that's very good in Illinois Fighting Illini at 93 percentile. But here's the key. Zach Edey is 7'4". They don't got a guy over 6'10". Now, I guess I think his name's Danja, their center. Big, hefty, but he's 6'9", 6'9.5". It's too much muscle for Zach Edey. And then when they get going, folks, the guy to watch is Smith. In big spots, typically in the second half, when they run that high ball screen action and they dive him down, this kid knocks down shots, and he's gotten so much better. I know it's a big number. I know Illinois has been playing well, even with Shannon out with that big beatdown of Northwestern. I think Purdue, I hate to say this, is the best team in the country, and I hate Purdue. Purdue minus 10.5 tonight.
Let me just ask you this quick, JY, for Illinois, because it is such a big number and it's such a step-up spot without Shannon. How are you evaluating this team moving forward? Is the idea that, if they hang tonight, they can feel good about it? If they're routed, it's big disaster. This feels more important than a typical January 5th college game, to me at least.
This is a big January 5th game, Kevin, because of the fact that if Shannon's not going to come back, right, and we don't know what's going to happen with him. If he's not going to come back, this is the first big litmus test for a team that beat FAU, that we were saying before Shannon was out, that, oh my God, like this team could be a Sweet 16 or Elite 8 team. So for them, they have to get a good spot, even if they don't win, Kevin, even if they don't cover the split. Don't happen what happened with Colorado last night, which I was dead wrong about Colorado, because now Colorado's looking at themselves saying, well, maybe we're not good as we think. Big spot, but Brad Underwood will have that team fighting. There's probably one of the toughest guys to play for, but his kids play hard for him. They'll be in the game. I just think too much Purdue tonight.
Yeah. All right. Great stuff. That's Coach James Young joining us here on Game Time Decisions. JY, enjoy the rest of your night here. A lot of great hoops coming up.
All right. See you next week, brother.
All right. Great stuff there from Coach. Look, so let me just talk quickly on UConn and Butler. I like JY's look towards the Huskies. I hesitated, though. The worry for me is UConn has only played 2 true road games this season, and they have lost both. Now, one is at Kansas. Very forgivable. The other was at Seton Hall. And they lost by 15, laying 7.5 in that game. I like UConn here in this spot because the number looks light. But again, as JY said, numbers look light all the time when it comes to college basketball and a favorite on the road. I'd be cautious. There was a player prop I was going to get involved with here on Jameel Telfort, who is one of the top scorers right now for this Butler basketball team. I ended up pulling back, so I'll just kind of take you through what I was looking for, and if you guys want to play it. The juice flew all the way up to a minus 128, minus 135 at other spots, down now to minus 115, which is very bettable. Telfort this year, Butler has played 2 top programs inside the top 20, which is Michigan State, via Ken Palm, of course, and FAU. And he scored 15 against Michigan State, and he scored 19 against FAU. So that is proof of concept, proof that he can go out there and score against very good teams. He is now in what looks like to be a key identifiable bounce-back spot with now 3 consecutive games of really poor efficiency performances. He's shooting 29% from the field and 1 of 8 from 3 in his last 3. The most recent games are key matchups, though, because they would still, for me, count as top, not UConn, FAU, Michigan State level, but Providence is the 6th best defense on Ken Palm, all of college basketball. That would be the toughest test that Butler's had all year. And St. John's is now inside the top 45 in KenPom, and Telfort struggled in both of those games. Now, again, bouncing back, which incredibly, UConn's defense, right, is not even as highly rated as the Providence, is not as highly rated as Michigan State. We've seen it there, but this was a spot for me. I decided to sit on the sidelines for, I think Telfort makes sense with that 13.5, but even in the sample size where I saw positivity, he didn't blow through these numbers, right? And I need to see him be able to step up a little more in conference play. Right now, Big East teams have had Telfort's number, but he was a look, something for you guys to keep your eye on. My favorite bet tonight, though, college or pro, is in this game between Illinois and Purdue. Updated lines right now, 10.5 everywhere on Purdue. Total 150.5, as well as a loose 151.5 out in the market. If you are willing to bet the under in this game tonight, you could absolutely sell high. So the Terrence Shannon Jr. situation, again, seems horrible, but it is relevant when we're breaking down Illinois basketball. This team's leading scorer is out indefinitely on the season, averaging 21.7 points per game, along with 4.5 rebounds and 2.5 assists. They have now played 2 games in his absence, one of those against Fairleigh Dickinson, a 104-71 absolute rout, but they were 25.5-point favorites in that game. It was somewhat expected. The follow-up performance against Northwestern, far more surprising. Illinois was only a 5.5-point favorite against the Wildcats that are 10-3 on the year, and they win that game 96-66, a 30-point rout, an absolute rout at the hands of the Illini. It suggests that there could still be reason for optimism tonight for Illinois. One of the things that has looked optimistic, though, during this 2-game run has been Marcus Domask, who has really stepped up in the absence of Shannon Jr. Now, it is not a one-for-one replacement of the two, but the workload increase is undeniable. Domask over the last 2 games is averaging 20. You know what? I won't even use his averages. I'll just tell you what he had. Against Fairleigh Dickinson, 11 points, 11 assists, and 4 rebounds. And against Northwestern, an outrageous 32-point performance with 6 assists and 5 rebounds. Easily and sweat-free clearing a PRA prop of 21.5, which it is tonight. Shannon Jr., unsurprisingly, if you were to line him at 21.5 PRA, was 11-0 to the over. Again, the kid averaged 21.5 points per game. And that's what this, by the way, comes out to for Domask, is this little 2-game window, 21.5 points per game, with 8.5 assists and 4.5 rebounds. 34.5 PRA. I know it is a 2-game window. I know Purdue is much better than both Northwestern and obviously Fairleigh Dickinson. Northwestern also is one of the slowest teams in college basketball. Purdue is not that. It keeps opportunity out there and available. Here's the other 2 selling points for me. Damascus shot 17 free throws in the last 2 games. In the prior 11, he had attempted 23 total. Just 6 less in a 2-game window. That means that he has full control, full workload, in my opinion. And in those first 11 games, he was averaging 18.4 PRA. So we were only 3 off what this number is now. And Illinois lost Shannon Jr., who's giving you 21.5 points, as well as 7 rebounds plus assists. It'll kind of round that up to nearly 30 PRA. Walked out of the door. Has to be replaced somewhere. And Domask has done it now for 2 games. And they only raised it up 3 from what he was doing when Shannon Jr. was around. I think this is a sleeping number that the books are missing out on. That presents incredible value tonight for this Illini team against Purdue. I know it's on the road. I know they're great. I think there is plenty of opportunity here tonight. college basketball elsewhere tonight is not actually featuring a ton of other big games. It's not a situation where, oh, well, UConn's on the board and Illinois is on the board. There must be plenty of Big Ten and Big East games. Nope. Only teams from their conference going. Late night, there is a San Jose State-Boise State game that I'm sure people will be involved in. The rest of it, my home, the MAC, is out there and available. Iona laying 2.5 on the road at St. Peter's. Niagara laying 2.5 on the road against Manhattan. Siena, a 3.5-point road favorite, Siena's a 3.5-point home underdog against Fairfield. Canisius is catching 2.5, traveling to Mount St. Mary's with a lot of the MAC teams in action, closed out by Quinnipiac, laying 4.5 at home against Rider. I have to do a full MAC breakdown. That is fantastic. I'm going to do a full NBA breakdown for you next. 14 games, I think it's 5 picks for me on the NBA board. Plus, we can kind of dive into, if there is time, a little bit of the Jonathan Kuminga stuff that we've talked about, as well as some new rumors involving DeJounte Murray, the Hawks all-star level guard, who have some top teams interested in him. That's all next right here on SportsGrid.
My best bet is Michael Penix to over 309.5.
Let's shop around. Let's get active and let's get the best of the numbers here, Joe.
I believe if Michigan in this ball game can run the football, work off of play action, they can move the football, put up points. Does fall on McCarthy, but I like Michigan's chances in this ball game.
National championship is set. Washington against Michigan.
Brothers in arms tonight. This is it.
This is the most excited I think I've ever been for a day of work in my entire life.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Where they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
In terms of these wild cards, and in terms of the playoff picture.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give the over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Back right here on Sports Grid. I'm Kevin Walsh with you on a Friday night. What we're going to do is I want to bring up one NBA play, then we're going to go to Davis, who's got a same-game parlay for us, and then I'll do the rest of them. I just want to bring up this one NBA because I want to see if it's moved too much. I don't think it will have, but it's a 10.5 rebound prop for Andre Drummond. We mentioned with Coach Zach LaVine and Nikola Vucevic are on their way back. And Drummond's number is, it's 11.5 anywhere. I would tell you I'll still bet it, though, and I'll tell you why. So Andre Drummond, since starting for Nikola Vucevic in a 5-game window, is averaging 19.3 rebounds per game. Again, not hyperbole. Literally, one of the greatest rebounders in NBA history. He's only averaging 29.6 minutes per game, by the way, in this window. It's not he's playing 38 minutes a night, okay? 19.3 rebounds. So, here is why there is a lot of value on this Drummond prop still, which was being listed 15.5, 16.5 when Vooch was completely gone. Nikola Vucevic tonight is going to have a minutes restriction of 23 to 25 minutes. Vooch, when he was fully healthy, was averaging 34 minutes a game, okay? So that leaves an additional 10 minutes available for Andre Drummond than he used to have prior to his starting minutes, which means you're getting well over 20 minutes tonight for still starting center Andre Drummond. He is still remaining in this starting lineup tonight for the Chicago Bulls, okay? And if he's going to play 20 minutes, Andre Drummond's rebound rate as a starter would put him at 13 rebounds in 20 minutes. And I think he's going to play more than that, by the way. I think you're going to still get actually 25 plus from Drummond tonight. I have no issue if you go out there and go alts to the moon, because that's what Andre Drummond does. Again, he's averaging 19.3 rebounds per game. If this is a blowout, Nikola Vucevic, is he going to really still play 25 minutes? Are they going to worry about that? They're a big favorite tonight here against, obviously, a bad Charlotte Hornets team. This, to me, is such a great spot to take advantage of a dropping number. Again, I played the 10.5. It was expensive at the time, but not too expensive, right? Minus 135, minus 140 number was moving a little bit there. But for me, 11.5 still works. This number, I think, should be 13.5 tonight on Drummond. Just looking at his rebound rate, the Vucevic minutes limit, and I think it's part of the reason the number is climbing. Give me Andre Drummond over 10.5 rebounds. Tonight, we do have what, again, should be a blast of a game between the Indiana Pacers and the Atlanta Hawks. This number, you talk about numbers on the move, this total continuing to climb, though it has come back down to earth a bit, as high as 263, now as low as 261.5, and that number is featured in the Davis Maddox same-game parlay for Pacers-Hawks. No, wait, maybe. Play it.
All right, guys, we are back for another same-game parlay over on the FanDuel Sportsbook. We are taking a look at the NBA tonight. We have the Atlanta Hawks playing against the Indiana Pacers. What a matchup here. We have a total of 261.5. Man, makes you think, how much further away are we till we get a freaking 300 total in the NBA? Because it's definitely trending that direction. And you know what, guys? With the Hawks at the Pacers, we are going to begin our same-game parlay by taking the over. These are the teams that are number 1 and number 2 in offensive rating in the NBA. They are also teams that are both in the top 5 in pace in the NBA. I actually think this is like a pretty legitimate total, and I am hoping that we get to see the over here. And then, of course, to add on to our same-game parlay, we're going to take both Trae Young and Tyrese Halliburton, the star point guards for both of these teams, to score 30 or more points in this game. On the FanDuel Sportsbook, this 3-leg same-game parlay is going to give us plus 492 odds on the FanDuel Sportsbook. Tyrese Halliburton, 30 points. Trae Young, 30 points or more. And over 261.5 total points. And Hawks, Pacers, let's win some money tonight. Good luck.
All right, appreciate that breakdown there from Davis Maddock. If I was on that game, for me, it would be the Trae Young points prop here tonight. There are some 28.5s out there in the market, but I am focusing elsewhere. We've talked about the over for the game between the Sixers and the Knicks, just to give you guys the specifics on that one, because they are a bit jarring here. The New York Knicks, in their last 15 games, 6 have come against top 5 offenses. Boston, they allowed 133. OKC, 129. Indiana, 140. And then 3 games against the Bucks in this window, 146, 130, 122. So you absolutely tonight could just line up a Sixers team total, which I saw at 119.5, and just trust and play that number. The Knicks are allowing 133 points per game in these instances that I'm using. This is 6 games, by the way. It's a decent sample size, and have all come in their last 15. But in these games, the Knicks themselves have scored 120 plus in 5 out of 6. They're averaging 121.8 points per game in this matchup. So, not that it's going to work out this simply, but if you take what the Knicks are averaging and what they're allowing in these matchups, this total's well past 250. So while I missed the best of the number late last night, 233 to me still has value. This is a climbing number for a reason. If this thing's going to land in between, 228 and 232, so be it, right? But I think that this is still worth a play here tonight on this over. And under that I'm going to play is the Clippers team total at 115.5. The Clippers, with Harden, have had 3 games against top 8 defenses. The Rockets, they scored 106. The Celtics, they scored 108, and then held to 115 on the nose by the hook against the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Pelicans this year have gone against top 8 offenses only a handful of times at home this year, but it was against the Sixers, 114. Admittedly, no Embiid, but that is still what they were able to put up there. OKC, they held to 106. Atlanta did get loose against them for 123, but then they had a rematch against Denver, who admittedly smashed them, but it was in Denver. They played Denver again at home and held them to 110. So that's a nice job there. In 4 games at home against top offenses this season, they have held 3 of them underneath that 115 marker. And also, if you look at the last 10 games the Pelicans have played, 1 team went over 115.5. It was Memphis in overtime, and it landed 116. So give me the Clippers team total under tonight at 115.5. And then I have a pair of point plus rebound props here tonight. A quick one and a simple one, as you would expect. Rudy Gobert over 24.5 points plus rebounds. Rudy Gobert with a single for just the 5th time this season. Did not hit double digits on either points or rebounds. He was actually atrocious in their last game. Foul trouble really determining a lot of that, to be fair to Gobert against the Pelicans. He only played 24 minutes with 5 points and 5 rebounds. But when he has come off of a single, he has gone over the 24.5 points plus rebounds prop in 3 out of the 4 games. Obviously, tonight will be the 5th instance there, so you're getting a nice hit rate. And then R.J. Barrett, who checks in tonight at 24.5 points, rebounds, and assists, but I'm keying in on the 21.5 points plus rebounds. 2 games with the Raptors, 19-9 in the first game, 14-7 in the second. R.J. Barrett, to me, maybe this is foolish, maybe I'm going to learn a hard lesson here, is the main guy that the Raptors traded for with the New York Knicks. Immanuel Quickley tonight, though, has the points prop a touch higher. They are starting IQ. They are playing comparable minutes. But R.J. Barrett, I think, is going to be a fixture for this Raptors team for a long time. So because of that, I would keep tabs. Now, hold on a minute. Now, see, I'm getting a tweet sent to me. The Raptors are ramping up trade talks surrounding Pascal Siakam. Kings taking a look. We'll dive into that in a second. By the way, a lot happening here in the last 5 seconds. We'll talk more about the trade stuff. Luka, unlikely to play tonight. So JY came in and mentioned kind of the Dallas thing. That's the thing. You take a risk there when you get what looks like a cheap 8.5. Now you're laying 8.5 without Luka. We'll give you the updated number because it will move. Where was I? R.J. Barrett, speaking of the Kings. That's who the Raptors play tonight. For me, R.J. is going to continue to get plenty of opportunity and plenty of rebounds, right? Yeah, this is a guy that was averaging over 18.5 a game with the Knicks, who are bottom 5 in pace, fighting for touches with Brunson and Randall. So now he's fighting for touches with Pascal, who's eventually going to be on the move, right? We're finding that out more and more. And then you've got Scotty and I guess IQ, but I still think RJ is going to get plenty. But also, this is a nice spot for RJ, playing by far their fastest opponent yet, with Memphis and Cleveland being the first 2 games. This is the worst defense they'll have played since he's a Raptor. I think RJ Barrett is in a very, very comfortable matchup here tonight and will easily go through the 21.5 points plus rebounds. I think he can score 20 plus here tonight in this game. Let's stick here for a minute. So the Kings, by the way, the Aaron Fox points prop is interesting tonight if you're looking for some additions, are going to come in, and get involved in the Pascal Siakam sweepstakes. Here is the most difficult thing for me as it pertains to Pascal Siakam and his value. As Sacramento right now is 37-1 to win the NBA championship. Their odds to win the Western Conference are at 16-1, $1 in front of the Lakers, $2 behind the Dallas Mavericks. But I don't really understand if it... I have my doubts a team is going to be able to get a deal done for Pascal. Now, maybe I should push those aside because the team was able to get a deal done for OG Anunoby. But Pascal Siakam is a clean and free agent this coming offseason. And we, by the way, heard that Pascal could be interested in going back to Toronto. Now, if he's traded somewhere, loves it, maybe that doesn't happen. But you run the risk of an Aroldis Chapman situation. For those that don't remember, the Yankees were sellers, got back at the time a haul for Chapman, and then just re-signed Chapman in the offseason, and it made no difference to them, and obviously it worked out great, relatively. So for the Raptors, it makes a lot of sense. The thing is, Masai Ujiri doesn't really like to do trades unless it is a clear and obvious win on his side. There was a lot of people who feel the Knicks got fleeced in that deal with the Raptors. I don't think that, personally. They weren't going to pay IQ. OG is much better than RJ. I think the Knicks did more than fine there. But Pascal being an expiring, is Masai Ujiri still going to say, hold on, I'm giving you an all-star. I need multiple first-round picks. A deal's never going to get done, I feel, if that is how Masai Ujiri is going to attack these conversations. But what you have now is more and more added to the trade block, which is good for suitors. Zach LaVine, I would say DeJounte Murray, and now Pascal Siakam, 3 all-star caliber players on the trade block for teams like the Lakers, who are trying to elevate their season, or teams like the Sixers, who are trying to make sure they are right there with the Bostons and Milwaukees of the world in the East. Great stuff there. We'll close out hour number 1 after the break. We'll be here on SportsGrid.
My best bet is Michael Penix to over 309.5.
Let's shop around. Let's get active and let's get the best of the numbers here, Joe.
I believe if Michigan in this ball game can run the football, work off of play action, they can move the football, put up points. Does fall on McCarthy, but I like Michigan's chances in this ball game.
National championship is set. Washington against Michigan.
Brothers in arms today. This is it.
This is the most excited I think I've ever been for a day of work in my entire life.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Where they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all
You see
access.
that in the NFC in terms of these wild cards, and in terms of the playoff picture.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give the over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're closing out our hour here. At the top, we will reset the NFL, where just kind of things sit before the weekend. And again, we'll get into all of this throughout the show today. But the Warriors were in the news for this Jonathan Kuminga thing. And look, JY and I see it differently. That's fine. Jonathan Kuminga is not saying I need to play 35 minutes a game. Jonathan Kuminga is not saying I need a $100 million contract extension. Jonathan Kuminga played 19 minutes last night, had a +6 on-off, scored 16 points, 4 rebounds, 4 assists. He was 5 of 7 from the field, 6 of 7 from the line, and sat the final 18 minutes of the game while the Warriors' lead collapsed. Does that sound unreasonable to anybody? Not me. I'd be pretty confused as to what the heck is going on. I played 34 minutes the game prior, had 19, 6, and 4, and we had a win. Why am I it doesn't make any sense. Now we got Moses Moody saying, I'd like to get out of here. 3 straight DNPs. The Golden State Warriors a while back messed this whole thing up when they didn't cash in on any of these guys at the peak of their value. And maybe they should have done that considering Steve Kerr has never believed in any of them. They've not cultivated any of this talent. You can blame Bob Myers drafting. Fair. The Wiseman pick is as bad as it gets. He got traded so they could bring back Gary Payton. The whole thing was completely pathetic. There's no other way to slice it. LaMelo Ball actually could have been the piece to extend the dynasty if that's what they wanted. But now they're looking around here and they're answerless. They have no idea how to elevate the value of their young guys. So they can try and trade them, but if it ends up like anything with Wiseman, it's going to make absolutely no difference. They're a 16-18 basketball team that has no idea how to close games, despite having Steph Curry on it. Draymond's working his way back from all of his nonsense. Who knows how that's going to go? Klay Thompson, people are talking about trading because he doesn't want to take a pay cut, despite the fact that he's obviously no longer a top 50 player in the league. Here's the real thing they need to do. Put 30 on the trade block. Let's get spicy. The only way to really save this thing. We'll be right back in less than a minute. Live right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. This is Game Time Decisions with you on a Friday night. 1 more hour to go here on a Friday. Mark Zinno will be with us in 10 minutes, talking about some of the football that is upcoming. We'll see if he's involved in any of the hoops that are out here on a Friday night. And then Dave Sharapan will hang out with us for about 20 minutes or so. Again, as we get set for a major weekend of action here. And it's the final weekend of NFL. And we'll start this off on the AFC side of it all, because the AFC is where we are on Saturday. Now, a little programming special for everybody. 9 to noon, the Pro Football Today crew takes over for the College Football Today crew. So Donnie steps in for Ben, and it'll be, of course, myself and Joe Lisi. We will set this game up, these two games up, Baltimore and Pittsburgh, as well as Houston and their game against Indianapolis. We are also going to be live Sunday morning and Sunday night. It's the NFL. It's Week 18. We're going to give you what you need. We are live, as usual, Sunday at 10 a.m. till 1, 10 to 1 kickoff. And then 7 to 9 p.m. We're going to be with you for the start of Bills-Dolphins. We're going to lead you into the game and then hang around for a quarter like we always do. We are excited to get involved with that. Let's start quickly the AFC playoff picture. Baltimore has clinched the number 1 overall seed. Kansas City is checked in as the 3rd seed as well, which obviously is relevant to what's going on. And Cleveland is locked in to your 5th seed here in the AFC. So some things are already set and finalized. The big thing is Sunday Night Football, but Saturday does impact quite a bit as well, as our radio audience is with us here on a Friday night. Kevin Walsh with you on Game Time Decisions, Sirius XM, Channel 159. So, if the Ravens win, Pittsburgh is eliminated from the playoffs, and the Bills are in. It's kind of this interesting thing where the less pressure Buffalo has going into that Sunday game, the more I think I trust them. It is not that they can't handle pressure, but the playing for a 2 seed or being out of the playoffs is such unimaginable stakes. For Miami, a loss does not knock them out. It'll drop them to the 6th seed. They're going to go to Kansas City. I know they already lost to that team. I know Arrowhead's tough to play. But if you're Miami, your worst-case scenario is a playoff game. And Tyreek Hill revenge to the highest of highest levels, you can buy into it, right? For Buffalo, we might get to Sunday night and there is no tomorrow. So it's all relevant. Pittsburgh has to win the game. They're favored to win the game. The line is dropping, though. They were as much as a 4-point favorite, now down to 3. Houston and Indianapolis is very simple. The winner is into the playoffs. Lock, steady, and secure. But then the division comes into play. And I'm sure you all would expect for me to stop here, and I'm going to. The Jags are minus 198 to win the AFC South. Houston is plus 410. Indianapolis is plus 440. Now, Jacksonville's price is the same as their money line because their money line here is what matters. They just need to win, and they are in. But the winner of Texans-Colts would win the division if the Jaguars end up losing on Sunday. It's not an easy spot for the Jags. The line is 3.5. Ryan Tannehill gets the start for Will Levis. I think Tennessee is absolutely live in that game. With that said, I am a Texans backer. If you hold Colts tickets, you likely have them at a good price. I am going to let Saturday roll. I think Houston can get the job done. I am sure if you are a Colts backer, you believe the same with your group. And then, for the first time all season, I might lay a little off on the Jacksonville money line. I say that a lot, and then sometimes I just kind of let the things go. It's how I'll walk into the national championship game with no futures on the table. Shout out Bama and Texas. But that is what I am looking to do there. And that's kind of your AFC playoff picture as it settles. 1, 3, and 5 are set. The 2 is going to be Miami or Buffalo. 1 of Houston and Indianapolis are going, with the potential, though, for one of them to end up actually being the division champion of the AFC South. The NFC feels a bit more complicated. I've had some debates with everyone's favorite Tony Rightside, who feels like some teams should just accept their fate. Detroit and Philadelphia, namely. Dallas is the key. The Niners are locked into the 1 seed. They will be starting Sam Darnold. They will be starting Sam Darnold against the Los Angeles Rams' Carson Wentz in this game, which, fantastic. Shout out Carson. I'm glad he's going to get to play. Dallas, though, is the key, and Dallas is a 13.5-point favorite at Washington. It is a huge number. It is a number only justified, truly, I believe at least, by Dallas needs it, Dallas needs it, Dallas needs it. But these teams played on Christmas in Dallas, and that's what the number was, 13.5. Now, it was a 45-10 rout, but I think we've all come to accept that Dallas is not the same team home and road. And that is why I think this is far too big a number here for Dallas to be laying. But also, there are people who are going to care about Dallas winning the game, and then people who care about them covering the number. If you have any Cowboy futures, this is obviously critical. A win seals the division. You would imagine the Philadelphia Eagles would beat the New York Giants. They are going to be without Sly and Devonta Smith. I do wonder if to some degree the Eagles are accepting their fate, and if the division, if they felt that the division, if they controlled their own destiny, which they would have had they beat Arizona, would the Eagles be playing Sly and Smith this week? I think it's absolutely possible, and the answer to that is yes. Maybe they're both too not healthy enough. Perhaps it's the Giants, and they feel fine, but there's a reason that number does continue to fall. And that's why Dallas's money line in that game is underneath minus 1,000, yet it is minus 1,350 on Dallas to win the division, because it is very possible that the Cowboys could lose their game and actually end up fine. That's where Detroit factors in. If Dallas lost, then we could end up seeing Detroit have potential for the 2 seed. The thing is, if you're the Lions, being the 2 versus the 3 matters more with round 2 than round 1, right? But you've already were able to go to Dallas and probably should have won that football game, all things considered. So I do wonder how long you get a full effort from the Lions in that game. And then with the wild card stuff, you've got the Packers laying 3 to the Bears. You've got Seattle with a short number against the Arizona Cardinals, and the Vikings are playing the Lions, trying to hang around. It's a lot to get to, and again, the Pro Football Today crew will have you covered. We're right back here on Game Time Decisions.
My best bet is Michael Penix to over 309.5.
Let's shop around. Let's get active and let's get the best of the number here, Joe.
I believe if Michigan in this ball game can run the football, work off of play action, they can move the football, put up points. Does fall on McCarthy, but I like Michigan's chances in this ball game.
National championship is set. Washington against Michigan.
Brothers in arms tonight. This is it.
This is the most excited I think I've ever been for a day of work in my entire life.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU, because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. and now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions, only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Where they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid, your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all
you see
access.
the NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff picture.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give the over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Welcome back in. Game Time Decisions is with you on a Friday night. I'm Kevin Walsh, joined now by Mark Zinno. Mark, how are we feeling here on a Friday?
We are feeling good. We got Week 18 in the NFL. I got to say, for as hard as Week 18 usually is to handicap, I feel like I've found some good angles and, good handicaps here in Week 18, given the slate of games that's out there. Not everything is as meaningless as it seems.
Right, that is a good point. Before, I'm just curious, because I know you kind of get involved in a little bit of everything. Are you on any NBA or college basketball tonight? Because I know a lot of us are starting to transition to getting into more and more with, obviously, the NFL and the college football winding down.
I am on several NBA games tonight, and I don't know if I could put together an uglier card than I did, and it makes me smile because I am taking the Charlotte Hornets getting 9.5 points against the Chicago Bulls. This is the largest number the Bulls have laid all season. Like, at what world are we at? I understand Charlotte is bad. Look, and they very well could get blown out. But if you're telling me that we're in a world where the worst shooting team in the Eastern Conference and the third worst shooting team in the NBA is laying 10 points to anybody, I'm going to take the 10 points. So I'm on the Charlotte Hornets tonight. I'm also on the Detroit Pistons tonight. Why not?
There you go.
Again, Golden State on a back-to-back after a devastating loss last night, probably going to be a little bit sluggish. Detroit's covered 4 of their last 5. They're playing much more competitive basketball. Another double-digit number here. I've been playing on Detroit for the last couple of games. It served me well, keeping money in my pocket here. So I'm going to continue to run with the Detroit Pistons. And then Magic, Denver under. Magic are really short-handed tonight. Roster, they have 4 or 5 guys just not suiting up tonight. Denver also on the back-to-back after that emotional win last night over Golden State. Maybe a night where they rest some people. Maybe a night where they just slow it down and slug through it in an ugly game. But we're going under in Denver and the Magic tonight in the NBA. So, yes, it's as ugly as a card as I could put together, and I'm kind of enjoying it.
I got to give you credit. That really did deliver on the idea of it being ugly. That was great. And to your point, I almost forgot to mention earlier, just Franz Wagner out and maybe for a while. Very interested to see what that does to all these Paolo Banchero numbers. Was only played 1 career game without Franz. He had 25, 8, and 7 last year against Oklahoma City. So just all stuff to track. But look, the books obviously are not. They're aware Franz is out. Tonight, Paolo, 26.5, 27.5. So these are big numbers and all stuff we will track. But let's do a little weekend then, Mark. You mentioned there are spots where you feel things are a little bit easier to identify here. Tennessee and Jacksonville is a really important one on Sunday where no matter what happens, the Jags need that football game against Tennessee. What are you looking for?
I love the Titans here. I mean, I absolutely love the Titans. Look, we know there are injury concerns with Trevor Lawrence, right? The coach said today that he needs to be able to throw the ball harder. I expect him to play. I'm not even concerned about the impact of what we have, but this is more about Tennessee and what they're going to do. This is Mike Vrabel and a Tennessee Titans team that has covered 5 of their 7 home games this year. Last game for the Titan in uniform for the Titans for Derrick Henry, probably last game for Ryan Tannehill. Titans are only allowing 18 points at home this season. Jacksonville's played bad football over the last month, losing 4 straight. They beat the Carolina Panthers last week 26-0. Big deal. But I don't think it's a measure of where they are right now. And it doesn't even matter to me who starts for Tennessee, whether it's Will Levis or Ryan Tannehill. Titans are 8-2 against the number as a home dog last 3 seasons. Mike Vrabel not going to lay down for anybody here. Titans haven't won a division game yet this year. Don't know if they'll win this one, but I don't think the Jaguars, who just need to win this thing, are really concerned about winning by margin. This stays within a field goal.
I really like that. I actually hadn't realized that, honestly, that they have yet to win a division game. Vrabel does not sound like the type of coach who's going to be happy to go through a full season of 0 division wins. I think it makes a lot of sense. I'm rooting it on as somebody who has many, many times, Mark, given up on a Houston Texans division ticket, only to be sat here in Week 18 with a prayer. Talk to me then on the NFC side of it here. The Green Bay Packers are trying to get into the postseason in a game that 2 months ago would have looked like an easy layup spot. All of a sudden, the Bears have a bit of mojo. How do you evaluate this one?
I mean, do they really have a bit of mojo, or have they just played really bad teams? Because they've won 4 of their last 5, but those 4 wins came against the Cardinals, the Falcons, and the Lions. Credit, that was a home game, too. The other win was against the Vikings in Minnesota with Josh Dobbs under center in a game that ended 12-10. So have the Bears really improved? Look, they got a great run defense. There's no doubt about that. Green Bay has some problems stopping the run. But in a spot here where I have Jordan Love, who beat up on the Bears in Week 1, throwing 3 touchdowns in a 38-20 final. This is a very lopsided series, as Green Bay has always had Chicago's number, dating back to the Aaron Rodgers days. Bears are just 5-12 against the number in division games the last 3 seasons. I don't think Green Bay lays an egg here, only laying a field goal. Worst case, I probably think I push, but I think the Packers here, I know the Bears kind of don't care whether they win or lose because they have the number 1 draft pick overall, so they can actually be motivated here to play. But I just think there's too much here for Green Bay as the only home team. You look at all these other teams that are winning, get in here, Kevin. The Packers are the only home one. Everybody else is on the road. So even though it's 3, I'm willing to take it here with Green Bay and think that they're not going to lay an egg at home with the playoffs on the line.
And I think it's a nice spot to try and sell high on Chicago because, to your point, all these teams that need to win are laying over a field goal on the road, right? But the books now are like, we got to believe in the Bears. And yes, the defense has worked out here. That's what's been so fascinating, it's like, Fields. But really the change is now all of a sudden Matt Eberflus kind of seems to know what he's doing more than anything else. I know the offense has had some better moments, but it's the defense has started to figure it out here down the stretch. And then in the NFC South, a simple winning-in spot for the Bucs, who last week were winning in, and obviously that game did not go their way. This, though, supposed to be an easier spot against the Carolina Panthers.
Supposed to be. Hit the rewind button back a couple of weeks ago, the game in Tampa Bay, where Tampa Bay was laying 2.5 against Carolina at home. Now they're laying 4.5 on the road with a banged-up quarterback. Does that seem to make sense to you? Is there something about that line that feels a little bit stinky? Because it does to me. Look, we know that the Panthers are always capable of just playing a bad game and laying an egg like they did last week and getting shut out. So that's 100% on the board here. But, the Panthers also know that, look, doesn't matter what they do this week as far as the number 1 spot. But you do know that Bryce Young, as a quarterback, is not going to want to have another bad game and continue to look bad. So there is a little bit of reason why at least this offense should try to look a little bit competent and play spoiler, right? I mean, there's nothing better than having that feather in your cap of getting a win here. I just don't like this spot for the Buccaneers as far as laying this number. I don't necessarily believe the Buccaneers are going to lose this game, but 4.5 seems way too much for me with a team with a quarterback that I don't necessarily trust, that is banged up and against a really good defense. Like the Panthers have a top 3 total defense here. We keep forgetting that about how good their defense is as far as, total defense and yards allowed. So it's not going to be easy for the Buccaneers to move the ball, settling for a lot of field goals here. And I think this game stays close.
Well, I think to kind of just, and I know it's only a 3-game window, Mark, but it's a little bit of insight of, on the surface, the idea is Tampa needs it, Tampa wins, job done. To your point, right? The home field advantage does matter. Maybe not as much as it did 10 years ago, but it does. So the fact that the Bucs are laying more on the road than they were at home lets you know that the books have inflated a number, and it's an opportunity for bettors to now sell high on the overinflation for the spot.
Yeah, and again, that's what it is. That's baked into the line across the board. The odds makers know who's the winning get in. You're paying the premium price on that by them either moving the number or moving the juice, which is why, again, you're starting to see some of these numbers move as we get towards the end of the week. I'll give you one more. I think that's a game that doesn't matter, but I think is a great motivational spot. Absolutely love the Raiders at home this week against the Broncos. The players have come out repeatedly and said how much they enjoy playing for Antonio Pierce. Devontae Adams has lobbied for him to get this job. What a better way to solidify that than going out and beating a division rival. The Raiders have won 7 in a row against the Broncos. Jarrett Stidham is not going to do well against the Raiders defense. Absolutely lay the 2.5 or 3 with the Raiders.
All right, there you go. That is Mark Zinno helping us get set for a very important finale to the NFL's regular season. Dave Sharapan joins us next here on a Friday night on Game Time Decisions.
My best bet is Michael Penix to over 309.5.
Touchdown from out. Let's get hacked and let's get the best of the numbers here, Joe.
I believe if Michigan in this ball game can run the football, work off of play action, they can move the football, put up points. Does fall on McCarthy, but I like Michigan's chances in this ball game.
National championship is set. Washington against Michigan.
Brothers in arms today. This is it.
This is the most excited I think I've ever been for a day of work in my entire life.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run, run, run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win because all we care about is the money, baby, the money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back, the irony. I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game Time Decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses, and a lot of news always coming out of there. One of the fresh sports betting states.
Where they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
The NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give you over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. That's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you here. It is Game Time Decisions, and for the next 25 minutes, you guys get the treat of hanging out with Dave Sharapan. I get the treat of hanging out with Dave Sharapan. Consig, how are you?
I'm great, Kevin. I get the treat of hanging out with you. We got Jack making sure we're good and everybody in the background. This is great. Big weekend. How do you feel about Week 18 in general? Because it's like a preseason week to me. There's a couple good games that, with the meaningful stuff, but like having one team with the game meaning everything to them and another team that means nothing to them, it's very confusing, isn't it? It's a big puzzle.
It feels like I may end up betting on every single team that doesn't need the game.
There you
I mean,
go.
that's just the trend we're on.
That's what
I know.
we do.
I know.
That's great.
That's. Can I tell you the one that is now becoming? So this is the sneakiest one on the board that's becoming my favorite.
Really?
Cincinnati and Cleveland.
Oh,
yes.
man.
Here's the thing, right? Because Cleveland has no incentives. Right? They're just locked in the 5th seed, so they're benching everyone, right?
Right, yeah.
But Cincinnati does have an incentive to lose for their draft pick. Like, Cincinnati's like 7.5. Higgins is out. Don and I did this today. I think Chase might sneak out there for 4 catches, first 100 reception season of his career. Bounce. Okay? There's an incentive prop for you. Go find Chase 4 catches.
Okay.
What is Cincinnati doing laying 7.5 in a game that means absolutely nothing to them?
That's exactly what I'm thinking all week. That's so funny you said that. I like Cleveland plus the points. This is a game where you see at the end of the season, right, they just run the ball. Everybody just wants to run the ball and go home. Nobody get hurt.
Get out of there.
Decisions are made. Let's run the clock. This will be the first game, that starts early. It'll be the first game done. If you could bet which game is going to finish first, bet this one, okay? It's a 1 o'clock start Eastern, 10 o'clock Pacific. This will be done maybe before the witching hour, right? We're going to get this out of the way, over, under, dog plus the points. Why not win the game outright? Makes no sense at all what's going on with that line.
Now, second game, this is what happens. It's the off-the-beaten-path ones for me.
Love it.
A team that doesn't but should care is the New York Jets. Robert Saleh should be pitching to his players that they're playing in the Super Bowl on Sunday. And I don't care. This is probably Bill's last game in New England. He's beaten them, 15 straight?
Like
I'll tell you all the payback in the...
Jack's entire life. Like, I think, as old as Jack is, I think it's the last time the Jets won.
Listen,
here's
the deal. Here's the deal, okay? All of the torture that Jets fans have had, you send him on his way out with a loss, it doesn't really make up for it, but you'll take it. It's pretty nice. It's pretty nice, Dave.
But I mean, that matters to the guys in the locker room? Is Robert Saleh coming back?
I'll tell you. Yes, because he listens to Rodgers, so he's back. Most inspirational player in the league, many are saying. Aaron Rodgers.
Apparently so. Yeah. Wow. So you like the Jets, huh? How about the total?
I don't know if I like them. I just know that if I was the coach, I would be telling them that this game really matters. I don't think that if you're Saleh, you're back next year.
Yeah.
Like I know draft pick. Look, here's the thing, okay? What I'm doing is also very classic Jets. It's like big brained, you finally own the Patriots, and then you send them into like the 4th pick. They draft Drake May, and then he tortures you for another 2 decades. So I get it. But this is the chance. You're going to never beat it. He's gone, probably, after this. You got to go grab one.
Wow. That's a nice narrative. I don't know. I don't know if you've been sitting around.
I don't think anybody else cares about that game, though. What's the lowest handle game? That game, Raiders-Broncos?
No. I think it's Chiefs-Chargers. What's going on in that game? Who's taking anything in that game? Nobody's playing. And Tay-Tay's not going to be there. I mean, they're completely off the radar of everything. No, the Chiefs can't move their position. The Chargers, everybody's moving. They're getting that joint ready for, Harbaugh after he wins on Monday. He's going to go right off into the sunset and come right to L.A. That's what everybody keeps saying out here. That's all the talk and all the nonsense. But I think that's the lowest handle game because it's in the afternoon, and it's literally completely guessing. Do you think could be Browns Bengals too? But there's a lot of movement on that. There's people betting that.
Yeah. Here's my thing with the Harbaugh thing. I get real nervous that he's going to try and draft J.J. McCarthy. Like, no matter where he's picking.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't know. That's kind of how it feels. J.J. is his most loyal soldier. So, I don't know. Maybe he would show him some loyalty back.
Maybe, but, if he goes to the Chargers, he already got a quarterback. Why would he do that?
Because he's crazy, Harbaugh. I don't know if I trust him. He worries me a little. I'm not.
It's nighttime in Pittsburgh behind me, as BSS dubbed it a year and a half ago or whatever, 2 years ago. Can you see Harbaugh in Pittsburgh? I don't think that would fly. Harbaugh.
Who said this? Who said this?
The people on the socials, they're out of their mind. Can't be.
I got to tell you, this guy, Mike Tomlin, I've never seen anything like it. Every year ends with somehow 65% what a great job, 30% he should be fired, and then 5% does he understand that you're allowed to fire bad coordinators and get good quarterbacks. Like that's kind of where we land here.
It's unreal. They're playing for everything. First game out of the gate on Saturday. Total.
I don't like them.
Coming down. Ravens plus the points. We know how they're going to do. They're going to cover. They're going to cover. The Ravens are going to cover.
Steelers, it was 4. You and I talked yesterday.
What?
We were talking yesterday. It was 4.
I know. Well, this is, when we talk, people listen sometimes. And I've been listening to it all week out here. I knew the number was going down. This is what's going to happen, right? The Steelers are going to win and still not get in. You're going to finish 10-7. They're over the season win number unless you got a late 9. You should have an over the season win 8.5. Tomlin another season over 500, and there's still pitchforks coming out. Get rid of them. Get a new coach. I don't understand it myself, being out of the crucible of Pittsburgh and being in kind of a neutral area, in a book and looking at numbers and stuff. I'm like, the guy wins games. Mason Rudolph's the quarterback. He just won a game in Seattle to keep the season alive. I don't know.
No, it's he's running into Tomlin a little bit of the Belichick thing, but you kind of see it coming a mile away.
Right.
Bill is still, to me, a very good head coach. Awful GM. Awful. He's completely lost the plot as a general manager.
Yeah.
Tomlin's still one of the very best in the world. But leaving Matt Canada in charge forever. The quarterback room's a disaster. Those are the issues that you're running into now with Tomlin. And I feel he is kind of got it still. I know maybe he doesn't have as much control as Bill does, but I feel like he's been there forever. How does he not?
I don't know. I can't wait to see how this plays out. I know this. If they lose, you're going to see movement on the board on Sunday. You're going to see it on Saturday. If they lose, because now games don't mean as much, right?
Oh. No, so I think the only game – so it's interesting.
Jacksonville.
I think I'm going to be totally honest with you. I actually don't even fully understand the Jags scenarios. I know the Jags are in with a victory. I don't know if they can be in the playoffs with a loss. I
think the Steelers have to lose. And then because they already have 9 wins. So 9-8, I think they'll be the best 9-8 of the bunch. I think they'll be that.
Because the Jags beat them head-to-head.
You're right.
I don't know what their head-to-head with Houston would be. They swept Indianapolis, so that should be clear.
Yeah.
The Texans, they split, but they probably have the better.
The steam on the Titans is unbelievable.
Tannehill's playing.
smoking hot. That side is on fire. It's so hot. Titans plus the points. It's coming down.
Rightfully
it's
so,
down
I would say.
field goal.
You got to think about it, right? There was probably some people who thought Malik Willis could play. Point spread gap between Tanny and Willis has got to be 6. Got to be 6.
I think it's that high. I mean, it's at least 4. I don't know, but it's a lot. You get an experienced.
I don't know. With what I saw from Willis, maybe it's a little. Willis stuff is bad. Willis is bad.
Yeah.
Willis is bad. But that's the thing too. And you kind of brought it up for a couple spots here. There's all these sides and whatnot. This has to be the lowest handled total weekend of the year. The people have to see some of these numbers and just be disregarding it.
Just throw your
right?
hands.
Like there's going to be people involved with the 30.5, obviously, out of respect in New York and New England. But like people betting Bucks Panthers, are they really bothering with a 36.5? I doubt it. I doubt it. No. Here's what we're going to do. We're hitting a break. We'll scope out. We'll do a little bit of some of the hoop stuff that's kind of going on, some of the changes of the season, and also see if there's any juice in the hockey realm for the people. That's next.
Introducing Sports Injury Central's new feature, The Injury Edge, your NFL matchup cheat sheet. See all the significant injury mismatches broken down by offense and defense to highlight where the advantages lie. All for only $2.99 a week. How can you even consider making a bet or setting your fantasy lineup without knowing the injury mismatches? Go to sixscore.com today and get this week's Injury Edge.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
It looked like it was going in. It hit the upright and bounced out and did not go in. There's more scoring in an MLS soccer game than there is this Cotton Bowl.
The Chargers didn't know what the hell to do with Staley for years. They're a clown show in Chief. Denver's got this issue, Dave. Like, the Chiefs must just be sitting there going, wow, what a bunch of brain trust we work with in this division.
Sports Rage Late Night, only on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back,
the irony.
I am disappointed that they lost to FAU because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy Sports Today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer
The
powered by
goal scoring
Marca.
teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College Football Today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro Football Today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all
See it in the
access.
NFC in terms of these wild cards and in terms of the playoff.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give the over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. Yeah, that's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back. We're going to do a little in-game live-ish situation. Kevin Walsh, Dave Sharapan is here, who will be on the real in-game live tonight, as always. Butler up on UConn. What are we doing live here? 46-41 here. We're about to hit the under 16 in the second half. Oh, stop with this thing. I always do this, the pulse. I don't care about the pulse. Where's the live number? 3.5. Oh, UConn hit it 3, cut it to a 1-point game.
Yes,
154.5. Live total's juicy. What do you think there, Dave?
In game, they were plus 2.5. I took plus 125 on the money line when I said it to you, and now it's minus 215 on the money line and minus 3.5. The spread can change so much in a college because of less points, unlike the NBA. So I don't think you're late. I'd rather, 3.5 minus the standard juice. I got minus 112 here or minus 215 on the money line. That looks good. I'm more concerned with the Iona St. Peter's game, Kevin.
No, just leave it be. Leave it.
Let it go?
Just leave it.
Let it go? Okay.
Here's the unfortunate, all right, doors open. Here's the deal with the Iona Gals, man.
Please.
We had a great run where even the regular season games felt like they mattered. We are now the same. There's plenty others, these mid-major conferences where we have 4 games in March and we hope for the auto bid, and that's all that matters. So they're getting smashed at St. Peter's. It is what it is, but it's early. I can't even score. I miss Tim Kluse. That's not the point. I have a question for you with the college.
Yes.
All right. Yep. This is where, for me, because I'm not that far removed, right? I am not that far removed from the guy who sees a ranked team favored on or getting points on the road against an unranked team in college and be like, here we go. I mean, what are they doing? Give me the plus 124 tonight on Jabroni team number 8, and then they get cracked.
Yep.
Obviously now it's, I'm more aware of what's going on. At least I like to think so. In the room, though, right? Yep. UConn Butler tonight. It's early. We see Butler up, right? Yep. But it is so, and the people that I'm obviously now surrounded with are also ingrained in what we do. You see this. And I know it is not as simple as, well, the home team's going to win every game. But are the books still, when these upsets happen, right? Is it great for them every time? Or are people more and more aware of how dangerous betting a road team is in college basketball?
It depends on the team and the conference. And it used to matter more. It used to be really good. On a Friday night, on the weekend before the last game of the regular season in the NFL, at least in Vegas, it's probably pretty quiet. No, this should be better if Butler wins. They close as a 5-point dog. UConn's trailing right now 45-46, minus 170 on the money line for Connecticut. A lot of times, like playing them in game is better than playing that pregame number. You really got to watch it because anytime you could get I literally got plus 125 2.5 minutes ago, and now it's minus 170. And all right, no score. It's tied, actually. Okay, so you see the volatility in the line. Yes, to answer your question, it's good. No, it's not always good because if it's on a lesser ranked team, a lesser known ranked team, the bad guys are on the dog and they win, and you as the book are on the wrong side. You wanted to be on that side, and you don't have enough volume or bets to take and go, man, we should have won more on that. Or, geez, how did we lose on that game? Well, we took 2 limit bets to drive that number down, and they got us. So, happens sometimes. Yeah. It's not like it used to be. No, it used to be they bet the favorites, thanks to places like SportsGrid and other people that do content. I think a lot of people are more aware that when that situation comes up, you're supposed to take the dog.
Yeah, it's just like, I don't know, it's never surprising. It's almost surprising when it goes the other. You know what I'll say is, the other night it happened. Clemson went to Miami, laying a 1.5 line. So they were actually favored in the game, and they lost by 10.
Mm-hmm.
And sorry, good win for Miami. But really, if Clemson would have won that game, I went, all right, they're legit, right? Like, that's almost the bar now. Like, go on the road and handle your business, and then we'll kind of go from there type of thing. Like, that's just the way college is. How much tonight? So on a night like this, right, Illinois-Purdue is a top 10 matchup, 14-game NBA slate, right? How well does Illinois-Purdue do in the room in terms of people getting involved?
That's the game because of the time slot. The later start gives you that middle window. That'll probably be the game with the most handle. Connecticut Butler with the early start. Not nearly as much handle as you would like on a game like that. And then your conference. What conference is Iona in?
The MAC.
It's a Friday night special. I mean, there's a lot of MAC games, and there's a lot of guys between the MAC and the Ivies on Fridays that used to just really, I mean, like I used to watch this stuff and go, these guys are all over it. Nobody bets this stuff. Nobody. It's minimal handle on Friday nights, especially after this week, because you just got, you'll have 2 games Saturday, I guess 2 games Sunday and 1 game Monday or whatever they're doing now with the NFL schedule. But Friday night's a light night. A lot of guys get early outs on Friday. A lot of guys are out to dinner Friday because there's not much handle on college basketball.
You know who is the guy? And you know this very well. He doesn't do it until he's ready to when he has his numbers. But Donnie. That's where, again, like, Donnie's so fascinating to me. He knows this.
Yeah.
You asked Donnie to come talk about Duke Baylor at the Garden in December. Like, terrible game. Couldn't care less. I don't know why they're even playing it. And then you go, hey, Donnie, St. Peter's Iona in February. And he's like, let me tell you this right now. We got 3-point percentages. We got it. We got the split. But that is the thing that he has stayed. Donnie now, he enjoys the parlay, as we're just kind of breaking down Donnie's betting habits, but people can learn from that. I always say that. As much as I give him gruff, you can learn a lot from Donnie. I've learned a lot from Donnie. Yeah. He is very still strict with when he gets involved with his college basketball team totals, Dave.
Oh, you have to be. There's just too much on the menu. There's too much distractions, and I think you thin it out if you get too diluted. So sticking to your guns. Listen, do you think Donnie's watching the show right now? This is pretty good. I mean, like, put us on the Christmas card list, the bonuses for the envelopes, Donnie, whatever you got to do. I mean,
something.
I'm gonna see you out in Vegas. We'll pick you up, and
we've
done that before too. So I've ridden in a car with Donnie, had some great car rides, and listened to him talk and watch him in the morning. It's great. You can evolve. That's a good message, K-Dub. You can evolve.
Boston is up 49-18 on Utah, laying 33.5.
Is it still the first quarter?
No. If it was the first quarter, we would have been sounding off alarms. It's the second. But they got 17 points midway through the second, 18. This is no good.
Boston team total over 60.
Tatum has the same amount. Tatum right now, and he was a minute ago, was outscoring Utah midway through the second quarter. Send the tweet out, Dave. It's going to go viral. Yeah.
We need over.
I'll tell you what, if he picks it up,
62.5. I think it was 62.5. We talked about it on Bostonian versus the book. The Celtics team total at home has been a cash register. Just continue.
First half?
First half. They averaged 64.5 or 65 points in the first half at home, and the books go up to a number and then stop. You never go
66.5.
62.5. So
66.5 live.
There you go. We're over 60.
They're laying 32.5 right now in the first half. I'm not saying it's wrong. It's just, imagine pre-game, you have 24 minutes to cover 32. Like, it's crazy, but that's how these things go. Pacers, Hawks, you mentioned it, biggest total of the season. Now, I imagine that attracts a lot of action, actually. Like, people 100%. Just seeing the 263, and they're like, oh, I have to be involved. Biggest total of the year. And it probably takes more under money than you would think, right? With a total that. You go, that's too. Like, I'm talking about not just the smart guys, but the casual bettor. And I don't say this as a slander. So I'm not on the total tonight. I've done this many times myself. 263 is too much. I'll play it under.
Yeah. That happens all the time. The Pacers are a fun story, and they have been consistently early in the season and were overs. The number got finally adjusted. They went through a stretch where they were under, and then the other night I think they flew over. I think the in-game while I was on in-game live got up to as high as 285.5. It went under that number, but I scored 270 something points. You see this matchup and you go, wow, what do we do with this number? And you put it up at the highest total, closed out here in Vegas, 262.5. Very interesting game. The in-game now is down to 253.5. I think this game will have runs where you can do a bunch of multiple things. So if you're watching this game, you got to probably make multiple plays. Knicks, Sixers, K-Dub. I couldn't wait to talk to you about it. The Knicks made that trade. Did they make a good trade? We'll still yet to see. But the Sixers are for real. You told me before the season, Sixers to win the East was in play, in the pocket, and a lot of things happening.
Mm-hmm.
I've been watching the Sixers. I like what I see. Game close 6. Were you on a side?
I played the total. I played it late, but I didn't. It's one of those things. Look, you always want to tell people get the best of the number. I played at 233. I shouldn't do this to myself. Like, I'll look before I go to bed, and it's 227.5. You know what I mean? And then by the time we're ready to go, everybody had the same idea. Like I said, if the game lands between 228 and 232, then okay. That's on me.
Yeah.
Right? But we're hoping that's not the case. I play the over. The Knicks, for all the defensive prowess, they have not been able to guard the best teams in basketball. Right. So their last 15 games, they've played 6 games against top 5 offenses. They're allowing 133 points per game in those games.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not good. That's not good.
No, not at all. I'd say
I won't see you
big picture
until Monday. Can I ask you real quick? Because you're doing the college football show. 2 things. Big game Sunday night, big game Monday night. I'm wearing the Bills stuff to hopefully mush them. I hope I'm rooting for Miami against everybody. That's fine. But Monday night, Washington plus the points.
Yep.
Michigan minus the points. Lean yet,
Mm-hmm.
or are you still going to do the work?
Very unlikely I bet a side. This is where, again, I have to be honest. Texas futures and Bama futures going into last Monday. I now feel that both of these teams really bother me to my core, and I'm just being honest about it. And I don't know if I can root on either one of them. Dave. To be honest with you. I don't think I can. I got to figure out the total. The total, you know what? I might play the under and just be mean all night long. Mean. I don't know. We'll see. I might show up in a Grinch costume. Is it too late? I might have to ship me the hat. Thanks, Dave. Enjoy the weekend.
My best bet is Michael Penix to over 309.5.
Let's shop around. Let's get active and let's get the best of the numbers here, Joe.
I believe if Michigan in this ball game can run the football, work off of play action, they can move the football, put up points. Does fall on McCarthy, but I like Michigan's chances in this ball game.
National championship is set. It's Washington against Michigan.
Brothers in arms tonight. This is it.
This is the most excited I think I've ever been for a day of work in my entire life.
Quarterback at quarterback. We're going to lay some juice. We're going to have some dog prices, and we're going to go right in the middle.
Because I don't know what they're doing. To me, they're in a complete rebuild, Kev.
Go run. That's where overbackers on this 51.5 shot.
So right now, we saw a little bit more over money, but it's hovering right around.
The winner of this game will be the division
I don't care if they win, because all we care about is the money, baby. The money.
Pro Football Today. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
We spent all offseason where the NFL said, hey, just so you guys know, running backs don't matter. If we then this year give the MVP to a running back,
The irony.
I am disappointed that they lost to FAU. because secretly I don't really like this FAU team very much. I don't know. They're just not for me. And now they've completely legitimized the Owls.
Game time decisions. Only on SportsGrid.
North Carolina, we've got new sports books operating for licenses. And, you know, a lot of news always coming out of there, one of the fresh sports betting states.
Where they're a little behind the ball there, so I don't know if they'll be at the starting line in North Carolina. But yeah, a really interesting mix of applicants this early on so far.
Newswire. Only on SportsGrid. SportsGrid. Your 24/7 sports wagering network. Fantasy sports today.
They were saying there's no way he could not possibly do this. He won't hold out.
Pro League Soccer powered by Marca.
Scoring teams in the league. They have 80 goals so far.
College football today.
The Hawks team total in the first half is 0.5.
Pro football today.
Interesting props in this game, but I would be cautious laying this number here with the Houston Texans.
In-game live all access.
In terms of these wild cards, and in terms of the playoff.
In-game live, prime time.
Rich, I don't know, man. This has just been one of those games that doesn't make a lick of sense.
In-game live, overtime.
You want to give the over 3-1 on a pretty good team. It's hard not to take some flyers.
Football full circle.
Well, NFL officials stink. They always will stink, and they'll always ruin the game. You know, that's just part of what it is.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Closing out game time decisions right here on SportsGrid. I'm Kevin Walsh. Up next, in-game live, so make sure you are locked here on the grid throughout the night. A lot of great action for the fellas to go through, including the game of the night in the college basketball world, which is number 1 Purdue versus number 9 Illinois, and I am taking Damask. I'll insert a Jim Carrey joke somewhere. Marcus Damask over 21.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Illinois' top player, Terrence Shannon Jr., gone. Again, awful situation, removed. That's what that is. But he now frees up 30 PRA available, and Damask in 2 games without Shannon Jr. is averaging 34.5 points, rebounds, and assists. Against Northwestern, he had 32, 6, and 5. He dominated the game against Fairleigh Dickinson in the assist category with 11. This is a nice spot tonight against Purdue. While I know they are great, and yes, they are great, there's a lot of offense expected tonight. Big time total, 150.5. And this is a number for Damask that is not far enough away from what he was averaging while Shannon Jr. was around. That was 18.4. So could he give us an additional 4, call it, PRA in a spot without Shannon Jr.? Absolutely. And again, I think he can give us a lot more than that. As far as the NBA goes, plenty of action for me that is not tipped off just yet. We are live with the game between the Knicks and the Sixers, where we are on the over. We're playing Rudy Gobert through the 24.5 over on his points plus rebounds. RJ Barrett late night over his 21.5 points plus rebounds. We are also eyeing up a Clippers team total under on their 115.5 number against the Pelicans. And then my favorite NBA bet tonight is Andre Drummond's over 10.5 rebounds. I know this is largely moved to 11.5. Feel free to get involved there. All we need tonight is 20 minutes from the still starting center, Andre Drummond, and he'll secure, I think, at least 13 rebounds there tonight against the Charlotte Hornets. And that'll do it for game time decisions. Make sure you're locked because pro football today is live nearly all weekend long, and I will see you there.